Hello all, welcome back to the channel. This is me, Next Gen EnvoyXtreme. This time I am going to bring you a little guide to starting from scratch. If this is what you want to see, then please stay tuned. Welcome back all to the channel, and yes, this time I thought I'd do a little guide video. This time being starting from scratch. I've seen a lot of people asking like, how do you start from scratch on Facebook and other social media platforms, and I thought I haven't seen much videos about it, so I thought I'll do one myself. First of all, my advice would be is figure out where you want to go with the map. I'm on Ravenport just because it's a basic map, it's a base game start map, no mods, and in this save here I'm not using any mods, so but we'll get to mods later on. First of all, yeah, you need to plan where to start. So for example, let's say you would start down here. You can buy this here for 300 grand, which is a bit expensive, or you can buy just little plots of land and then just kind of use landscaping to just create like a little dirt fields, well, dirt fields, so you can place your equipment, store your grains in that with the green slide out potentially. Obviously, depends what you want to do. You start with 500,000 on start from scratch, and you've got no loans. So my first potential advice would be, depends. This is what I would do, but then again, not everyone does it the same way. You can take out a loan, and from starting from scratch, you can get £500,000 in loan. Obviously, the more land you purchase, the more you progress. You can get more loans, but I think it's not only just the amount of land you've got; it's like the amount of money you've generated. So yeah, generated from harvests. So let's start with £500,000 loan. So let's say buy this field just for the sake of it. You've got 3 fields. This field particularly has got sunflower, canola, and cotton. On starting from scratch, this may be ideal for you. Well, for me personally, it's not ideal because, well, not so much sunflower, but cotton is the biggest one. Because if you go to cotton technology, you've only got this, and yes, you can lease it for 24 grand. But for me personally, I won't do cotton straight away. I'll probably do it later on in the series. So my advice would be, if on Ravenport from scratch, is just plough this field. That's ready to harvest. What about this? Are you ready? Yep, he's ready. And he's ready. So they're all ready to harvest. So yeah, first advice would be loans. Second one is leasing rather than buy, because leasing you can experiment with equipment, you don't have to commit. So let's say we want to get a half decent medium tractor. Let's go with the Case Maximum series, 112 grand. You could buy it outright if you fancied. So let's say I want a decent horsepower engine. I want a front loader attachment to move seeds, pallets, bales, whatever. And leasing it will only cost you initially £6,533 in this case with this configuration. Per operating hour it will cost me an extra £2,700. I'm just going to round it up. So that's actual operating hour, not real life hours, thankfully. And same thing with, no sorry, operating hour is real life time, I do apologise. Per day is per game day, so which is 1,300, and potentially that's not that expensive, so lease that. Next we'll need a plough. We've got 175 horsepower engine, so could go with a subsoil potentially. Yeah, let's say go with this one. 140, so that's an extra 30 horsepower to power the engine, and again, £500 initially, and per day costs you an extra £100, and per operating hour an extra £200. Next, we need a seeder. Again, be wary of the engine's horsepower compatibility. So at least this one, just an example. And my advice would be to lease in, because you need to buy seeds, you need to buy fertilizer. Unfortunately, you can't, for obvious reasons, lease pallets of seeds because you're going to use them. Only if it had been a miracle if they would let you lease it. So let's say lease this. Let's go for narrow tires, 6-meter spreading unit. Next, you'll need a herbicider, so I'm just going to go ahead and just lease these equipment. Next, you'll need a trailer to obviously move. Let's go with this one. Again, see how much of my over is dropped? Not a lot. So yeah, next we'll need a harvester. So again, base game. You could go with the Echo Ideal, 23 grand. If you want to go down that route, it's up to you. Me personally, starting from scratch, the TX32 is a good move. Decent capacity, decent price. But then again, with leasing, you could go with the bigger ones, and if it doesn't work out for you, or you're not making enough money to cover the cost, then you can just send it back and lease something a bit cheaper. We'll tab over to the shop. So we've got a harvester, a header, a trailer, herbicide spreader, fertilizer spreader, a plower or subsoiler in this case, a seeder, and a tractor. And all that's costed us, let's go to the finances, 25 grand. So, and this is I'll call it a very good start, basic start. And then again, if you want more tractors to hire workers, you can do that. Let's do that again. Let's go with a different one this time. Let's go with the John Deere 6M series, because I love John Deere tractors. John Deere's, K's, and Massey Ferguson's are my go-to tractors. Let's go a bit crazy with this one. Actually, we've already got one in the front of your attachment. Let's go with that. Yep, that's an extra 7 grand. So, yep, you can do that. Next one I will go on is mods. Obviously, on my own personal Let's Play series, I use tons of mods. I do struggle to keep it within the allocated storage on the PS4. Obviously, what I do, I just delete maps which I'm not using at that time for that save, and install more mods. But you didn't have to go over the top. There are some very good mods out there, like the plowers, subsoilers, tons of mods out there, cheaper. Some ones are actually very good. There's a £17,000 6-meter subsoiler, and it's got a 3-point hinge on either side, so you can use it the normal way, which requires 185 horsepower. But if you do it the backwards, and I've tested this, you can use the Massey Ferguson, no, not the Massey Ferguson, the Ferguson tractor, which has got about 40 horsepower with the bigger engine, and you can plough the fields at top speed. Again, seeders, you can get certain seeders with a fertilizer spreader inbuilt, so a direct drill. Again, same thing with fertilizers. There's cheap ones. There's a 4 grand one. It's the lizard spreader for consoles, and that's got a 600 litre capacity, but it's got a 24-meter spread. Same with the herbicides. There are mods out there. I don't really use them much because I don't use weeds on my save. I turn them off. Traders, again, you can get cheaper traders with larger capacity. Harvesters, again. But let's say if you want to keep a base game harvester, but you want to harvest at a better speed, one mod I do recommend is the tool control height for harvesters, because you can get one. You can get this one with the tool height control as a separate mod equipment, and you can harvest at 50 miles an hour compared to 6 miles an hour, is it? Yeah, 6 miles an hour. So you can harvest 250% faster. Tractors, yeah, nothing needs to be said about that because there are tons of tractors. My personal recommendation for a cheap, more powerful tractor is the Case. Yeah, what was it? The Case MX series or maximum series. You can get a 285 horsepower engine with a front loader attachment for just 110 grand to buy outright. So yeah, the first one we covered is. So we covered leasing, we covered loans, we covered mods, and one thing I want to show you, and I'll do a bit of stuff off camera. And next one is about storage your grain. So see you all in just a sec. Here we are. We just harvested a field, and let's say you want to store your crop. Let's say if you want to store your crop, but you got no silos, what do you do? In game, you do have some silos. Got a small grain silo, and that is it. That's the cheapest in-game base game grain silo you can get. It's 100,000 litre capacity, and yes, you can buy that if you want to, or if you don't, there's a way you can store crop. Not all maps, but some of them do have railways or railroad silos. So, example, on Ravenport you've got east down here, and up here you've got railroad silo west. And these do store. So if you go to the prices per 1,000 litres section, obviously silos owned and total capacity is nothing because we didn't own any silos. Silos others are silos around the map. So for example, we've got nothing in any silos at the moment, but our capacity, if I'm reading it right, is 400,000 litres, which is a very good amount of capacity. So now let's take a little drive up to the railroad silo, and yes, I can just quickly show you of how you can store your crop, and also with, again, depends on the map, you can actually navigate the train to certain sell points. For example, on Ravenport you've got the port grain elevator. So if you want to, you can store your crops in railway silo east or west, depending on wherever you're starting on this map in this case. And let's say the price ain't right, you wouldn't store it, so you're waiting, and when it's ready to sell, rather than having to unload it all into a trailer, you can just unload it into a grain cart on a train and sell it. It's really that simple. But yeah, anyways, I'll just skip along as it's going to be a little bit of a drive to getting up here, and I'll see you all in a sec. Here we are at the railway silo. What I've done, I have stored the crops in this railway silo here. As you can see on here, we've got 3,231 litres of canola stored. Now we're going to fill this up with canola, and you can see there at the bottom it says start overloading. And what is that? That is this bit here. So let's say you want to transport crops from down here to this silo for whatever reason. You can have multiple farms as an example. So you can load it up in here, just drive up to the tracks, and then you can store it on this silo here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the next sell point. If I can get into the train. There we are, just cheat our way through. Close the cover. But yeah, let's say on this map there's only one sell point for the from the tracks, and that is the port grain elevator. So we'll head there next and sell our canola, which at the moment stands at where's port grain, £1,020 per 1,000 litres. That's an okayish price. 1,300, even 1,200 is a good price for canola. But yeah, whilst I am going to cut two things in together, whilst we're on the tracks, one other advice would be is to play around with the settings. Not this one, the game settings. So you can turn economy difficulty on easy, normal or hard. That will dictate the prices of everything. So for example, let's go on hard. The price of canola was originally £1,000 at the port grain elevator. Now that's gone down to £567 per 1,000 litres. And if you go to easy, now it is £1,700 per 1,000 litres. So yeah, that's a way to make. It's not necessarily cheap money in. It's not what I call a cheating way. That's what we got the government subsidiary mod in for. So yeah, that's one way. And again, another way if you want to make money fast, if you're, I just went past it, is play with plant growth. You can turn it on fast, so it'll grow the crops faster. So per, let's say, real life hours, you can harvest more crop per hour in theory. Obviously depends on what crops you're doing and if you're ploughing or cultivating first of all. But yeah, I think on fast you can get a crop done within a game day. On slow it's about 2 days towards 3 days. The other settings like crop destruction don't really play much, they're just more for realism. You can have the help refill options if you want to. So say when you're going along, you'll use seeds, you'll use fuel as when it's needed. But say if you do hire a worker, for example, this is where it only comes into place. Is if you hire a worker, then you'll lose, well, not lose money, the money will go as the worker's going. If you're doing it yourself, the money won't drop. So here we are at the sell point. Get stopped. And now we're going to sell the canola. And yes, we've made a decent amount of money, 5.5 grand. And that is pretty much the very basic. So we've covered decent, we've covered loans, we've covered mods, we've covered the railway silos. For those who don't want to use any mods but want to save some money. And yes, gameplay settings, I think I've covered everything. I don't think I've missed anything else. Obviously you can go into more depth with this, you can do lumbering. So for example, if you want to do lumbering, what you'll need is a chainsaw, that's £1,000. You'll need a stump remover, in this case £5,000, so that's £6,000. You'll need something with a front loader or a telehandler. So telehandler, yeah, a bit expensive, might have to lease that. Before you got a tractor, you can get a front loader attachment for £8,000. And you can either use a log grabber. Oh yeah, well in base game you can only really use that. If you get the CSZ pack, you can also have the big bag handler and a few other extras like I think it's like a double claw. So it's like mixed with this, and yeah, so it's got forks and a claw basically. So I can't remember the top of my head, so I do apologise for mumbling on, but yeah, that's that. But yeah, just generally have fun with the game, do it whatever way you want. You can be as realistic or as non-realistic you want. If you want to make money fast, get the government subsidiary mod. You can get between 80, 100 or 150 grand per game hour depending on what economy difficulty you're on. So you can put 2 in on easy and fast forward it, you got 300 grand, or for 3 hours you got 450 grand, and you can buy a big harvester. So yeah, that's the very basics I've covered here. There's so much more you can go in depth with, but I thought I'll just cover the basics. I hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hope you find it informative. I am going to leave pretty much everything I've said in the description below, so you can just look back at it if you want to and just read it rather than hearing me speak about it. But if you do like it, go and please leave a like, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell icon, as we are aiming for 500 subscribers by Valentine's Day. That'd be a good Valentine's for me if I can reach 500 subscribers. I know that seems a bit sad, but that's just me personally. But for now, this is me, Next Gen EnvoyXtreme, and I will see you all very soon.